Hello and welcome to the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, December 19th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. It is in fact Monday, December 19th. As we continue to count down the days until Christmas, we are getting closer and closer. We are coming off of another big weekend in the world of sports. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Gonna get right into it here today. We're gonna get to the NFL. We're gonna get to the Jets. Really tough loss yesterday at home. We'll get to the Giants as they pick up a huge win on the road against the Commanders, and basically, all they have to do probably is win one more game, and they are most likely in. And they can actually clinch a playoff spot this week with some things happening. A couple teams need to lose, and they can get in. So last night's game was huge. It went from, if the Giants lost last night, their playoff hopes would be slim to none. And if they would have won last night, their playoff hopes would be about, they're all but in at this point. So, huge win last night for the Giants. A really tough loss for the New York Jets as they fall 20-17 to the Lions. We'll get into it all today. As I mentioned, just due to timing, I can only keep this about 20-25 minutes. So we're going to get right into it here. We'll also get to the Nets. We'll get to the Rangers. 2 big wins for them. Knicks as well. Other than all New York teams right now are rolling other than the New York Jets. That's really where we currently stand in the world of New York sports, as the Jets dropped their third straight and 4 of their last 5. And things are really starting to fall downhill for the New York Jets. So with that being said, this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. So it is a recap Monday. It is a football Monday. It is a recap Monday. Got a lot to get into here. Just going to give you my game picks for the week before we get to the Jets and the Giants and the rest of the NFL. This week, up to this point, I went 10-5 on my game picks, so a good week there. Got to double-digit wins. That is now 3 of the last 4 weeks I've hit double digits on the year. And I've now 136-87 is my overall record. And tonight's game between the Rams and the Packers, I'll get you my pick in a little bit. That going for my 11th win of the season. All right, so with all that being said, let's get into it here. So, our 11th win of the week, I should say, not of the season. 11th win of the week. If that was only my 11th correct pick of the season, that would have been a bad year. So, 11th correct pick of the week, going for that, and that would be my second time this year getting 11 picks correct. Last time was week 5 when I went 11-5 as well. All 16 teams played this weekend. All right, so let's get right into it here. So, Jets lose yesterday, Giants win. So, a tough day in New York football in terms of, you have the heartbreak of the Jets loss, and then the Giants yesterday, last night come out and pick up a huge win on Sunday Night Football. We'll start with the Jets. What a just a frustrating poor performance yesterday. I talked about it in my recap show on In the Trench with Gangrene, my podcast that I have, on Apple Podcasts, and I was talking about it yesterday. Yesterday's loss for the New York Jets was crushing. It was awful. It was just a terrible loss. It was a game the Jets should have won. They blew it. They blew it at home. 4th down and inches. You let the tight end go for 51 yards. A tight end, he didn't even have a catch last week. A guy who was a backup for the majority of the season before they traded T.J. Hawkinson. And all of these different things come into play. The Jets defense blew it in that moment. But all around yesterday was not good. All around there was pieces. There was aspects to every single phase of the football. Offense, defense, and special teams yesterday contributed to the loss. And we've seen this now the past couple weeks where the Jets are clearly the more talented and the better football team, but they're just making too many mistakes and too many big mistakes that are really hurting them. Let me take you through some of the mistakes that were made yesterday. So number one, on offense, they couldn't get the run game going at all. The run game was awful yesterday. Zach played okay. We'll get into him here a little bit more in a second. He was okay yesterday. He could have been a lot better. He wasn't awful. We've seen a lot worse performance. He was about average yesterday. He threw for over 300 yards. He missed some throws. He made some good throws. He's very good out of the pocket. He's not good in the pocket. Did he show you enough to say he's the franchise guy? No. Was it awful? No. Did he make a mistake or two? Yeah, definitely. He threw an interception to start the half, which hurt. You had some bad incompletions, definitely. Couldn't get the run game going. All in all, the offense just didn't flow much. They only scored, 17 points. You go to the defensive side of the ball where it was awful. where you had the 4th and inches. It was just, you let that up. That was brutal. You 51-yard touchdown to a tight end is unacceptable. It's not like Darren Waller or Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews is out there. You're talking about the Lions tight end, by Brock Wright, who had a drop too prior on that drive, wide open. So that just is terrible. They had some missed tackles. Tough day for the defense, and they also had over 100 rushing yards. This defense has struggled this year stopping the run. You go to the special teams, and it's like, you had the punt return. Braden Mann had like a couple terrible punts yesterday. The punt return killed you because, it gave them all the momentum early on. Then the offense was playing from behind. And that's something that's been an issue with this Jet team. Every single game, it seems at this point, we're always playing from behind. And I understand yesterday, 7-0. The Jets ended up scoring. They made it 7-7. So it wasn't like they were down, 13-0 and they had to come all the way back. But they always find themselves in situations where they're down early in games and they need to find a way to climb back. And late in the year, it's tough to do that. The Jets fell down early, were able to bounce back, but then they blew it late. And something this defense has been so good at this year has been finishing. We've been so good as a fourth-quarter team. Everybody's been talking about us as a fourth-quarter team, especially some of our wins on the road. You go into a fourth quarter, it's a one-score game, and you need a big stop on the defensive side of the football, and the Jets have been able to get that all year long. I mean, I go back to the Week 9, game against the Bills when we got to our 6th win of the season. We gave Josh Allen the football back with about a minute left, and we completely shut down the Bills' offense. Bryce Huff had the strip sack. They were able to recover it. The Bills were. Then he heaved it up to Gabe Davis. Sauce batted it down, and that was the game. But now we're seeing like the complete opposite of that, where teams late in games now are, like yesterday, they scored, and the Jets aren't able to do stuff late, and they find themselves behind, and it's just a complete mess. Yesterday really felt like a same old type of typical Jets loss, where you're at home against a Detroit Lions team that is good. But let's be honest here. The Jets have a lot more talent. The Jets are a very talented football team, but they're making way too many mistakes. So a really tough loss yesterday at home. Under 2 minutes to go, and you let up a 51-yard touchdown, and then you get the ball back, and time management by Saleh to not call a timeout after that Garrett Wilson first down catch is inexcusable. And if you want to blame Zuerlein, go ahead. The kick wasn't even close. It was a terrible shank. 58 yards, shanked it badly. The least he could have done is made it somewhat close, where you knew it right off the leg that thing was not going in. But Saleh not calling a timeout there, he explained his reasoning today, which didn't make much sense. He overthought the situation. Him not calling a timeout there, wasted another we could have had one more play. We could have had another play or two. Instead, we let about 15 seconds of the clock drain off, and we barely got a timeout in to set up for the field goal. You could have got another 10, 15 more yards and put Zuerlein in a position to kick a 40, 45-yarder instead of a 58-yarder. And I don't care he was saying 60 yards in warm-ups. 58 yards is 58 yards. That's not an easy kick. Maybe, too, you give yourself a chance at the end zone. So all around, there was mistakes everywhere yesterday. And when you're in the playoff race, when you're playing meaningful games in December, you can't have that happen. And the Jets have now put themselves in this position. You have 3 games left. You got to win out if you want any chance to make the playoffs. Look, I know there's that chance if the Jets, I guess there's still a chance if you win 9 games to get in, but you need a whole lot of help. The bottom line is this. This is how the Jets get to the playoffs. Enough of this, I know some people might look at every angle of it and say, if the Chargers and Dolphins lose out and the Jets do this and the Jets do that. No. Look, the Jets control. The Jets, in my opinion, still control. They still technically control their own destiny. As much as they do need help, they need New England to lose one more game. But New England's remaining schedule is Cincinnati, Miami, and Buffalo. And they're up in Buffalo. What happened yesterday to New England very easily could bury their season. That's the one positive to my Sunday yesterday. I was crushed after that Jet loss. I was frustrated after that Jet loss. We've felt this so many times. We've had so many missed opportunities, whether it's against Buffalo where, you're making mistakes. You can't protect your quarterback, whether it's again, even the offensive line yesterday. Again, the protection was terrible. I mean, Zach, he got sacked, 4 times? He walked into a couple sacks, but even run game, the offensive line's been abysmal the past 2 weeks. It has been. We haven't even, yesterday the run protection was terrible. The run blocking was terrible. So that was a real issue. But Jets got to win out. So you win your next 3 games, which would be beating Jacksonville this Thursday, beating Seattle, and beating Miami on the road. Seattle and Miami on the road. You get Jacksonville home this Thursday. With you beating Miami on the road, that would automatically give you the advantage. So some people might say, well, Miami has 8 wins. Yeah, but if they win their next 2 games and get to 10, and the Jets beat them, since we beat them earlier in the year, we'd have the tiebreaker and we're in. All we need is New England to lose one of their next games. There's a real possibility New England loses out. They very could Cincinnati. I bet you New England loses to Cincinnati this week. They'll probably lose. New England probably lose out. The only way I see the Patriots not losing out is if the Bills are playing their backups the final week of the season, but I could very well see a possibility where they're either number 1 still fighting for the 1 seed or number 2, even if they get the 1 seed and it's already confirmed, coaches not always like benching players, sitting them and then having them sit for 2 weeks in a row because you obviously get the first round bye. So you'll probably still get Buffalo starters even in that game, and that's up in Buffalo. So it's not a matter of New England losing. We still need the Chargers to lose too, but their schedule's so easy. They have Denver, I think. They have 2 other bad teams mixed in there. So the Jets control their own destiny, basically. You need New England to lose one of their final 3 games, which if they go out and if New England runs the table, credit to them. If they go on and beat Cincinnati, Miami, and Buffalo, you got to give credit to New England. I mean, nothing you could do there. I could very see them losing their final 3 games. I could see the Patriots ending with 10 losses, to be honest with you. It's very possible. Their schedule's brutal. And you also still have the Bengals team that is just, they're hot. They're on fire. Come back yesterday. You have a Dolphins team that's fighting for a playoff spot. And again, you have a Bills team that's up in Buffalo. It's almost impossible to beat them there. So they're in a tough spot. But as for the Jets, they got to win 3 straight. So I look at it this way. You're down 3-1. It's a playoff series. You're down 3-1, best out of 7. You got to win 3 straight. You lose one more game, your season's over. You put yourself in this position. So it's tough. It's frustrating. What's most frustrating is it's like these games we're winning these games. Like Minnesota, you can't punch it in at the 1-yard line. This game, you blow it late. Bad clock management, bad defense. Like offense, didn't do enough. Some missed throws, terrible punt by Braden Mann results in a touchdown on the punt return. There were so many things that went wrong. In Buffalo, same thing. Like the little mistakes, penalties by Mosley, the bad drive before the half on defense, after the Mosley penalty, and then coming out of the half when you score, but then they stomp right, down the field again and score again. It's like, it's the little things in these games. It's the little things. Even you go back to the New England game, you lose 10-3. Your offense didn't move the ball. Like, you should have won that game. If you had competent quarterback play, you should have won that game. To be honest with you, if the Jets found a way to just get 20 more yards in that game, they would have lined up for a field goal and could have won it 6-3. So that's what's frustrating, is the other teams aren't winning these games. The Jets are losing these games. Like, they are single-handedly losing these games. 6-3 to 7-7 is inexcusable. It's just inexcusable. You can't justify it. I don't want to hear, the expectations weren't high going. I don't want to hear any of that garbage. They were 6-3. They now find themselves 7-7, and that's a problem. You got to go and win 3 straight. It starts Thursday night against Jacksonville. Period. That's it. Bottom line, you lose one more game, your season's over, and you're looking ahead towards the offseason and the draft like always. Bottom line, that's it. So it's up to the Jets. They control it. Let's see what this team's made out of. Jacksonville, Seattle, Miami. Which, by the way, those are not, it's not like it's Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. Jacksonville's hot. They are. Seattle is struggling, but it is on the road. These are tough games, but they're not looking at this Jet team, it's not like these games are impossible. They almost beat Minnesota. They should have beat New England twice if it wasn't for bad quarterback play. Like, the Bills game, they could have won if they would have never made if they remove these stupid mistakes and these dumb plays on defense and offense, they'd win these games. That's it. So I look at these final 3 games. You can look at it and say that's a gauntlet. It's a terrible game. Those are terrible. Jacksonville is coming off of a big win against Dallas. They're hot. They are. So you get a hot team, then you get a cold team in Seattle, which is struggling, but it's still in Seattle. You know they're going to be playing for something. They could be playing for their lives in that game too. Because they did they have Kansas City this week? I think it is. Yeah, they have Kansas City this week. So there's a good chance Seattle's playing for their playoff lives in that game. And it's in Seattle, which isn't going to be easy. In Miami, if you get to Miami, look, everything. If you get to Miami and you're 9-7, and the Patriots have already lost 1 game, that's probably a Sunday night game. Anything can happen. That's when you're in, lose, you go home. That's basically it. So Jets lose 2017, fall to 7-7, got to win 3 straight. Now to the Giants, big win yesterday for them as they get the win on the road against Washington, 20-12. And a big goal line stand late wins it. Man, oh man, what a day for Kayvon Thibodeau. Kayvon Thibodeau said earlier in the week, primetime likes him. He was not lying when he said that. He was big yesterday on primetime, by far his best game of his young career. And yesterday showed what Thibodeau can do. Yesterday was Thibodeau's coming out party. That's the type of player he can be. That's the type of player he was in Oregon. Quick, fast, tough, physical, exciting, high energy, all of those things he did well in Oregon. And he's shown some moments this year of doing that, but not incredibly consistently. Last night was Thibodeau's coming out party. I bet you're going to see him these next 3 games make a big impact. Like last night was like his takeoff. He needed one of those games to really get his full confidence. He's been better recently. Last night was like national television. He showed off to the NFL world what he's capable of and why he got drafted number 5 overall. He did. He did a lot of really good things last night. So good for Thibodeau. As for the Giants, they get to 8-5-1, and this was such an important game. And this is a credit to the Giants. This is a credit to the roster. This is a credit to Dable. Everybody in the organization. Look, they went into this game. This is the biggest game they've played in a very long time. They came off of a tough loss against Philly. You had a Washington team that played the Giants, tied, bye week, and played the Giants again. Washington had the advantage. They were home. They had a bye week in between these games. They had basically 3 weeks to scout the Giants. They almost basically had a whole month to scout the Giants. Giants went on the road last night and picked up a massive win. A massive, massive victory. And they were clearly the better team last night. They clearly went out there and they played well. I know Washington made it close late. You could talk about the pass interference penalty. It probably was a pass interference, but you can't blame the game on the refs. The bottom line is this. The Giants made more plays than Washington did. They stepped up on defense. Their offense did enough. Barkley had 87 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones made some big plays. Dable had, as they call him, Brian Dayballs. 4th down and 9 early in the game to go for it. That's pretty gutsy. He did. Threw it to Richie James. He catches it. This Giant team is well coached. They don't have a ton of talent. I was talking to somebody earlier today. They are probably one of the least talented playoff teams I've ever seen. One of the least. I know there's been a lot of 7-9 playoff teams. I know Washington during the COVID season was 7-9, won the NFC East, got to the playoffs. I know all that. Under Alex Smith, I get all that. I understand. They were not very talented. But they still had, I believe McLaurin was still on that team. They still had some pieces. It wasn't like the Giants really don't have a number 1 receiver. They're doing this without a number 1 receiver. And they're doing it with a running back who's good, but, he past couple weeks hasn't done a ton. Last night he was big, though. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry at 87 yards and a touchdown. He was big. And you're also doing a quarterback who was affected by the weapons. You don't really have a tight end. The Giants have nobody. But they're extremely well coached. And they're doing just enough. And they're winning these games. And they made a lot of plays last night. And they showed up big time on primetime. And that's a credit to the coaches. You got blown out last week against Philly. The Giants haven't, until last night, the last time the Giants won a game was November 13th. Because then they had the loss to Detroit, the loss to the Cowboys, tie against the Commanders, and the loss to the Eagles. Last time they won was more than a month ago. To be able to go out there last night in a big game like that, rally the troops, Dable has been phenomenal. What a hire for the New York Giants. And, hey, team's not incredibly talented, but they're getting the job done. Massive win last night. So you now get Minnesota on the road, you get Indy at home, and then you head on the road and play Philly. Giants 8-5-1, find themselves right in the heart of the playoff mix in the NFC. They are currently the 6th seed. So it's currently your 3 wild card teams are Dallas, who have already clinched the playoff spot, Giants, Washington, and then your 2 teams lingering are Seattle and Detroit. And then you got Green Bay, who, it needs a miracle. And then all 3 other NFC South teams. Nobody wants to win the NFC South. Nobody does. Buccaneers don't want to win the NFC South. Saints don't want to win it. Panthers don't want to win it. Falcons don't want to win it. Nobody wants to win the NFC South this year. Nobody. Buccaneers, that might be a below 500 division. As a matter of fact, Tampa has Arizona, Carolina, Atlanta. So, who knows? I mean, Tampa, you don't even know what to expect from them. So, big win for the Giants last night. Big win. And, look, Daniel Jones played well. He did. I think Daniel Jones has earned the opportunity to get another contract. I do. I think if you give weapons, you surround him with weapons, he can be a solid quarterback. I mean, look what Dable was able to do with Josh Allen. And I want to make that clear. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to turn into Josh Allen. Josh Allen's Josh Allen's a different breed. Like, he's got a ton of talent. So I'm not going to try to sit here and make the comparison that Josh Allen is, is going to be. I'm not trying to make, I'm not trying to say Daniel Jones is going to be Josh Allen. But if you give him weapons, he can be your guy. I mean, Dable, you can already see the adjustments he's made from last year to this year, just under Dable. And Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton are his top 2 targets. Kenny Golladay yesterday played 1 snap. He's probably the highest paid player on the roster. He played 1 snap yesterday. That's another thing I love about this coaching staff, too, is these guys don't care about your contract. They don't care about your name. They're going to play whoever's best. And that's exactly what Dable's doing. Accountability. Something that the Giants haven't had in a long time, they finally got. And it's evident. So big win for the Giants on the road last night in prime time. Other games around the league, Bengals over the Bucks, Chargers over the Titans, Raiders over the Patriots in a crazy, crazy game. Chandler Jones with a lateral interception. Stiff arms Mac Jones takes it to the house. That was a massive win for the Raiders and a massive win for the New York Jets in terms of playoff probability. With the Jets loss yesterday in New England and Chargers both, if they would have both won, really would have hurt. So that was big to see New England lose like that. Broncos over the Cardinals, Jags over the Cowboys, a massive comeback for Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, the Jags, and they're making a late playoff push, and they're 6-8. So most likely they're gonna have to win out to get to 9, and then they need a lot more to happen. It's not likely that they make the playoffs, but they're making a push. These final 3 games for them definitely mean something, and the Jets will host them on Thursday. Chiefs over the Texans. Texans 2 weeks in a row make things interesting. Who knows? Maybe this is the Texans' recipe for success. Just make the line, make this odd, make the spread like 17 or 14 points, and the Texans, find ways to cover, and the Texans find ways to be competitive. So they're competitive, but they're not winning. Davis Mills really kind of blew that game there with that fumble, and Chiefs took over and won the game. Eagles over the Bears, Steelers over the Panthers, Saints over the Falcons. And the Saturday games, Bills over the Dolphins, Tyler Bass game winner, Browns over the Ravens, and the Vikings in a crazy one over the Colts. 33-0 going into halftime. Vikings come out, outscore them 39-3 the rest of the way, win the game. It looked like Jeff Saturday was really dominating on a Saturday until that final 30 minutes of football came. So you saw one of the craziest games of all time there. Vikings over the Colts was the biggest comeback of all time. Bills-Dolphins was great. Raiders-Patriots was great. Bengals, overcoming the deficit at halftime 17-3 to come back was great. Over the Bucks. Was a great comeback, I should say. So all those things. Like yesterday was a pretty packed day. Jacksonville coming all the way back from Dallas. This was a great weekend of football with a lot of craziness. So that's that. Fantasy football. One of my leagues that I'm in the playoffs in, I lost in. I lost by 8. So tough there. And as for that, I lost in every league this week except I lost in every league except one this week. So that was pretty disappointing. Nets and Rangers as well. Nets, Rangers, and Knicks are all rolling. Nets 6-game win streak. Knicks 6-game win streak. I believe it's a 6-game win streak for the Knicks. And I saw a stat earlier today. It's the first time that the Nets and the Knicks are like both on a win streak. It's crazy. I'll pull up the stats here. So the Nets are on a 6-game win streak. Knicks are on a 7-game win streak. Nets are 19-12. The East is wide open. It really is. The Nets are 3 games out of the 1 seed. The Nets are playing great basketball right now. Knicks as well, 17-13, winning streak of 7. So Nets are 6-game win streak, Knicks 7-game win streak. And you go to hockey, and last night watching that Rangers game was phenomenal. Rangers have now the 3 seed in the Metro, 41 points. They're only 3 points out of being first in the Metro. Metro's close. 8 points separate the Capitals and the Devils, the 6th seed and the 1 seed in the Metro. Metro's close, it really is. Only 3 points separate the 5 and the 4. Islanders to the Penguins to the Islanders. Right now, it's the Devils, Hurricanes, Rangers, Penguins. But the Rangers are on a 7-game win streak. They got 41 points on the season, 18-10-5. Ever since, Trouba threw his helmet against the boards, something clicked in that locker room. 2 great wins, 6 goals on Saturday to get their 6th win. To get their 6th straight win, 7 goals on Sunday. Yesterday, 7-1 over the Blackhawks to get their 7th win in a row. Maybe they'll score 8 goals to get their 8th win in a row. They'll be back in action tomorrow night in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. So, Rangers are on fire. They really are. Credit to them. They are on fire. Whatever clicked in that locker room, they are rolling right now. It was ugly. It was looking ugly. Same thing with the Nets. Nets and Rangers. Credit. Even the Knicks, all those teams, they were all looking ugly. Islanders were the only bright spot out of the hockey and basketball teams in New York. And something's clicked. Knicks, Nets, Rangers, all on extending winning streaks. And really have shown no signs of slowing down. I mean, they're dominating right now. So that's really good to see. All right, so that will do it for the podcast here today. By the way, tonight, quickly, get you my game pick for tonight. It's Packers-Rams. I got to admit, I've went back and forth about this game. I really have. I don't know why, but I have. I think I'm buying it too much into the Baker Mayfield game-winning touchdown drive on Thursday of last week against the Raiders. But I'm rolling with the Packers tonight. They come into this game 5-8. Rams come into this game 4-9. Packers 7.5-point favorites. Over-under set at 39.5. 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. I'm taking the Packers. 92% of people think Green Bay will win. Look, Packers, Lambeau, in the cold, it's a huge advantage for them. I'm going to take Rodgers, and they keep their small playoff hopes alive with a win. They won't get there, but they'll keep it somewhat alive, give the media something to talk about with a win here. And I'll take the Packers tonight. I'll take the Packers 23-13. I like them covering. It's the cold. L.A., not good in the cold. I like Rodgers at Lambeau here. 23-13, give me the Packers. I'll take the over on the over-under, or under on the over-under 39.5. I think the Packers win and cover the 7.5. So that's my pick for tonight. Looking for my 11th correct pick of the week, which would get me to, 137 picks correct on the season, right? Something like that? I don't know. So, anyway, that will do it for the podcast here today. Wrapping things up here. Be back here, obviously, Wednesday. I got a special video coming soon here, so stay tuned for that. And, by the way, I'm doing my Jets mailbag episode. So, for those of you who have Jets questions, drop your questions down below. I'll be answering them tomorrow, and I'll have my Jets preview show on Wednesday, and then obviously the game on Thursday. Shortly after the game, I'll have my recap show. So, all that, stay tuned for that. A lot more content coming. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.